Hello everyone, welcome to Bajirao IAS Academy. We have been discussing important topics for science and technology for mains examination. In last few classes, we have discussed some important topics related to the space and also the biotechnology. Now also we will be discussing about the nanotechnology and its important applications, what are the initiatives that the government has launched, and at the same time we will also be discussing the challenges and the overall potential of nanotechnology in India. Remember that this is also a very important topic, and this topic you can at least expect one question from the science and technology. Now, what is nanotechnology? So first and foremost, we should make an attempt to understand what exactly is a nanotechnology. And in fact, nanotechnology is actually a technology that involves very small scale materials, right? A small scale materials would actually have a different properties and a different characteristics, and in fact these small scale particles or materials would have applications in a wide range of fields. For example, it is having applications in healthcare, it is having applications in agriculture and transportation, medicine. So there are number of areas where this nanotechnology is actually having its important applications. Now for example, take a material, right? So take a material, and at the large size of that material, so its properties would be completely different. But at the same time, if we take a minutest or smallest particles or matter or material, so it would actually function completely different, right? So it functions completely different, and in fact, it is considered as incredibly small scale. So we just manipulate or alter the size of the material, right? So it is a field of technology, and that specifically focuses on controlling and also manipulating the matter. So we actually manipulate the matter at incredibly small scales, right? So this small scales may be atomic sizes, molecular sizes, or even the supramolecular levels as well, right? So this is what is very briefly nanotechnology. So I hope it is clear for you. So if I can repeat it again, if you take any particle, so that particle's size may be altered or manipulated essentially to create a very small particle, a very small material. So this very small material would have altogether a complete functions and characteristics, and its properties can be completely altered at such a small scale. So therefore the size could be atomic size, molecular size, or supramolecular levels. So it could have important applications, and those applications or the functions or the properties of such small scale particles can be used for the human benefit. So this is what is called as nanotechnology, and nanotechnology involves or it deals with such a sub or a small scale particles. Now we'll understand the applications of nanotechnology. So nanotechnology is actually having a wide variety of applications, and that is why probably we have been focusing on nanotechnology, right? So for example, if nanotechnology has been benefiting the human beings, particularly in healthcare, for example, conducting surgery, or even precision medicine. So these, and even diagnosis. So in fact, nanotechnology has applications, or it can actually perform all these different functions, right? So when they do the precision medicine, it can be used in treatment of cancers, and we can find out many diseases such as genetic diseases or any other different type of diseases. So when we accurately diagnose a disease, only then we can actually start a treatment which is specific to that particular disease. And if we don't diagnose, and if we don't know what exactly is this disease, how can we provide treatment to the patients? So therefore we can actually say that in healthcare or in medicine, nanotechnology has a very important applications, right? So it is having its applications not just in healthcare but also other different fields as well. For example, in agriculture also it is having important applications. So when we say that nanotechnology has its applications in agriculture sector, remember that as of now we have been using excessive amount of fertilizer, excessive amount of pesticides in our agriculture sector. So what are the key concerns of excessive use of fertilizer and pesticides? So it has resulted in degradation of soil, right? So it has resulted in degradation of soil, pollution of existing natural resources, health impacts, health of the consumers gets impacted, and it is also impacting the microbial activity or soil microbial activity. So it is having a number of negative implications if we use chemical fertilizer and pesticides. So however, this nanotechnology still uses chemical fertilizers or pesticides, but it certainly reduces the usage of fertilizers and pesticides, right? Because nano urea for fertilizer delivery can be used, and even nano sensors for precision farming, right? So what exactly is precision farming? So precision farming actually involves how much of fertilizer a crop requires, how much pesticide has to be used, how much water can be used for this cropping. So what happens is that it conserve the existing natural resources, and it also transform agriculture into the natural farming, and also the sustainable farming. So therefore, in India, around 47% of the population either directly or indirectly dependent on agriculture sector. So in this backdrop, most number of people are dependent on agriculture sector, and agriculture sector is also one of the main contributor of the pollution, and agriculture sector is also need to ensure the food security of our population, need to protect the health of our consumers. So in this context, nanotechnology is actually having a huge role to play, right? So it is going to play a huge role when it comes to making agriculture more resilient as well as sustainable. So this is the application of nanotechnology in the agriculture sector. So within the nanotechnology, with the help of nanotechnology, certain nanocapsules can be made, right? So certain nanocapsules can be made, and these nanocapsule would result in efficient entry of herbicides. So it would result in efficient entry of herbicides and also the chemical fertilizers and even genes into plant areas, right? So therefore it would result in the precision farming. It would result in what? Result in the precision farming, right? So this is also another very important application of nanotechnology into the agriculture. So going ahead, we will be discussing this in a more detailed manner. And in fact, food processing is also another very important or a growing industry in India, because food processing, generally what happens, it reduces the post harvest losses, and food processing add value to the existing agriculture produce, and so that the farmers would earn remunerative pricing for their crops, and that would substantially increases the incomes of the farmers, and it also boosts food related export, and thereby overall making agriculture profitable in India. So however, nanotechnology is also having some important applications in the food processing industry as well, because whatever food that we have produced, so that food has to be packed and stored in such a manner that this food can be that can last for a longer period of time. So therefore, within the food industry, certain nano barriers can be used, they are very very effective when it comes to preserving the freshness of oxygen sensitive food. So there are certain different types of food items, and those food items are sensitive to the oxygen, right? So it would immediately result in the spoilage of the food. So therefore this nanotechnology can be used to store the food for extended or excessive amounts of time, and that would potentially benefit the food industry in the longer periods. And in fact there is another different type of a technology, and that technology plays a very very important role when it comes to solubility of essential elements. That technology is called as nano encapsulation techniques. So this nano encapsulation technique is a method that can be used for enhancing the solubility of important elements such as vitamins, antioxidants, and healthy omega acids. So this technology plays a very very important role. And even similar to that, nano barcodes, right? So nano barcodes can also be produced. So this is also another very very important application of nanotechnology, right? So when we produce these nano barcodes, and these nano barcodes then can be used for tagging the products, right? So whatever individual products that we have produced, so those products can be tagged with these nano barcodes, and then it will result in tracing outbreaks, and it would also ultimately improve overall product safety as well as the accountability as well. So you can see on this image various applications of nanotechnology in the field of medicine. For example, as we have already discussed that it performs different functions such as the targeted therapy. There are certain cancer cells, right? So there are certain cancer cells, and these cancer cells have to be specifically targeted, so otherwise it would result in destruction of other healthy tissues. So therefore with the nanotechnology we can actually target the exact cancer cells, thereby the damage to other tissues, other healthy tissues can be substantially minimized. So therefore this nanotechnology would result in targeted therapy when it comes to the cancer cells. And in fact it would also result in the gene delivery, drug screening, and in fact monitoring, detection, and disease diagnosis, right? So nano implants, so if any surgery is being done or anything that doctors wanted to implant in the patient's bodies, that can be implanted through the nanotechnology. Drug delivery, nanosurgery, so all these are some important applications of nanotechnology. So unless you are specifically asked about the applications of nanotechnology in the healthcare, so no need to mention all these. So if it is asked about the healthcare of nanotechnology in the healthcare, try to mention this as well, right? So when you are writing answers, it is also very very important that you try to draw some diagrams, some flow charts, because it increases the attractiveness of your answer. So that also further enriches your answer as well. Now we have discussed the applications of nanotechnology in the agriculture, in the healthcare, in food processing sector, in bar tag developing barcodes for tagging. Apart from that, the healthcare is also another important arena where nanotechnologies actually have a lot of applications. So we have just discussed, right? For example, the targeted therapy when it comes to the cancer cells, and even nano surgery can be performed implanting some devices in the human body, so that are very very important. And apart from that, diagnosis is also another very important area, and this nanotechnology can also be used for the drug delivery as well. So overall, for precision medicine, I have defined what exactly is precision medicine. So in the field of precision medicine, nanotechnology has important applications, right? So apart from that, quantum dots are also used in medical imaging for precise diagnostics, and nanotechnology has its applications in when it comes to diagnosis of various diseases, but the quantum dots can be used for the diagnosis of various diseases. And even textiles and fabrics are also another very important sector. And within textiles and fabrics, so silver nanoparticles embedded. So if we embed the silver nanoparticles into the fabrics, so it actually makes the textiles fresh, and they also odor free even after intense workouts. So therefore it is also having applications in textiles and fabrics as well, and that could potentially add value to the existing textile industry as well. And we have discussed some important applications of nanotechnology in different areas. So similarly, it is also having its applications in the fields of electronics and even semiconductor technology. And electronics, we have a huge market, and we also have a huge manufacturing base in India, and semiconductor technology or semiconductor sector has been emerging in India. So therefore nanotechnology has some important applications in both electronics and semiconductor manufacturing. Particularly, India is considered as a base for mobile manufacturing, because it is being said that around 80 to 85% of India's mobile phone requirements are met through the domestic manufacturing itself. So however, the existing mobile manufacturing industry can also be further strengthened through the nanotechnology, because with the help of nanotechnology, what we can actually do, we can actually create much more smaller, more powerful transistors and sensors, and they can be effectively used in these smartphones. And in fact, what is the benefit of these nano scale sensors, transistors in these mobile phones? In fact, they can substantially enhance the energy storage, and in fact it also benefit the portable electronic devices. So what are the portable electronic devices? So these are the devices that you can carry from one place to another place. For example, you have a laptop, you have a mobile phone, you have a tablet. So these are all considered as a portable electronic devices. However, with the help of nanotechnology, you can substantially enhance the battery storage life. So therefore, it would result in more and more advantages as well. And even the nano RAM, so this actually a storage device, right? So this is actually a storage device, and this nano RAM promises compact and much more efficient, effective storage in the electronic devices. So therefore we can also say that this nano RAM is also providing the important functions, or it is also providing much more efficient memory storage space for us through the help of nanotechnology. And semiconductor sector is also one of the emerging sectors, and nanotechnology has also been contributing for the development and efficiency of this semiconductor sector as well, because the nanotechnology has essentially helped in miniaturizing electronics for smaller, faster, and even more portable devices, right? So these are some important applications of nanotechnology in electronics and also the semiconductor industry. Now, even for the purpose, for the conservation, for the protection of the environment, also nanotechnology plays a very, very important role. So what role that this nanotechnology can effectively play when it comes to the protection of environment? Because the nanotechnology can actually facilitate environmental conservation. So it plays a very, very important role when it comes to the conservation, protection of environment, because this nanotechnology is actually helping in making a rapid transition to the sustainable form of energy. So what is considered as a sustainable form of energy? For example, the renewable energy that we have been working on is considered as a sustainable form of energy. The solar energy, wind energy, the bioenergy that we actually produce. And in fact, nanomaterials, there are certain nanomaterials called perovskite. So certain nanomaterials such as perovskite, so those nanomaterials can be used to substantially boost the solar panel efficiency. So once we are able to increase the efficiency of the solar panels, they can absorb the maximum sunlight, and they can also increase the capacity to produce more and more sunlight, right? So thereby we can reduce our dependence on the fossil fuels. We can also enhance our self-reliance and self-sufficiency when it comes to the energy generation and energy consumption, and it would result in the energy security for our country. It results in energy security of our country. So now we'll understand the advantages of nanotechnology. So as of now, we have understood the applications of nanotechnology. Now we'll try to understand the advantages of nanotechnology in different areas. So a very important advantage of nanotechnology is that, we can actually create certain materials, and we can also change the properties of those materials. So we can change the properties of those materials, and we can use those materials for important purposes. For example, so when we are able to produce nanomaterials, so these nanomaterials are actually having different characteristics. They are having different properties, such as we can actually improve their strength, we can increase the flexibility, and we can also increase their conductivity as well. So it is having applications in energy, it is also having applications in transportation, and it is also having applications in aerospace, space, and even defense. So therefore, altogether, by creating nanoparticles through the nanotechnology, we can altogether change the properties of that particular nanomaterial so that it would have more flexibility, more conductivity, and it could also improve its strength as well. And the other important advantage of nanotechnology is the energy efficiency. So we need to substantially increase energy efficiency because we wanted to become self-sufficient, and we also wanted to become self-reliant, and India should achieve the energy security. So in order to achieve energy security, we need to work on increasing energy efficiency. So we should increase the energy efficiency in our country. However, nanotechnology plays a very important role when it comes to improving the energy efficiency, right? Because it can actually produce the energy efficient devices, energy efficient systems, and that would over a period of time would lead to the reduced energy consumption and also lesser environmental impact or footprint as well. So how energy efficiency would result in environmental impact, lessen environmental impact? Because see, understand one thing, that as of now we have been producing around 50% of our energy from the fossil fuels, particularly through coal. So when we burn the coal in thermal power plants, so coal would actually release harmful pollutants into the atmosphere. Along with the harmful pollutants into the atmosphere, so it also releases fly ash as an end product, and even it is also a contributor to the global warming, and ultimately it would result in the climate change. Don't you think that it is having an environmental impact? But when we achieve energy efficiency, we can produce a lesser amount of energy from these thermal power plants, and we can depend more on solar and also wind power and other renewable forms of power, and that would result in less environmental impact as well. Another very important application of this nanotechnology is targeted drug delivery, right? So targeted drug delivery is also a very important application of the nanotechnology, because nanoparticles can be used can be designed to deliver medications directly to the specific cells or tissues among human beings, right? For example, a particular individual is suffering with a cancer, a different type of a cancer, right? So therefore the drugs should be delivered to that particular body part. Now in this context, these nano devices can be used to deliver drugs to the specific body part. Thereby the healthy tissues will not get impacted. So therefore, the nanoparticles can actually be designed to deliver medications directly to specific cells and also specific issues. So when we are able to deliver the medicine specifically to the body parts which are infected with a particular disease, so it would further increases the treatment efficiency, and it would also minimize the side effects as well, right? So it plays a very important role when it comes to minimizing the side effects and also increasing the treatment efficiency. And apart from that, water pollution is a major problem. Air pollution is also a major problem in cities like Delhi and other metropolitan cities. So therefore, nanotechnology as a method have a lot of applications. Nanotechnology as a method have a lot of applications when it comes to water and air purification. So it plays a very important role in purification of air and water, because it can effectively remove the existing pollutants in the water and also air. Thereby overall it contributes to the cleaner and even safer environment. So certain nanotechnologies, they can actually be used, or nanomaterials, they can be used for removing heavy metals in the water, and these nanomaterials can also be used for removing pollutants in the air. Thereby it would improve the health as well. It would further purify the existing natural resources. And in fact, in nanotechnology, what happens, generally take a material. So the material size can be altered so small that it is considered as a miniaturization, and it also substantially improves its performance, because we are changing the properties. We are altogether changing the properties of a particular material by conceiving a small material from that particular particle, because these nanoscale components can enable the development of much more smaller, faster, and even the more powerful devices. So such devices may be computer chips, maybe computer sensors, maybe transistors. They can actually increase the storage capacity, and they can also increase the energy storage, energy efficiency. So these are all some advantages of nanotechnology. Similarly, nanotechnology has its important applications in the information technology as well, because information and communication technology is also another very important emerging area. So particularly in the information technology, with the help of nanotechnology, we can actually produce high density data storage, and development of high density data storage and faster data transfer, and even the advancement of the quantum computing, right? So these are some important advantages of this nanotechnology, right? However, nanotechnology would also face a lot of challenges. So it is important for us to understand those challenges as well, because what are the challenges which are actually associated with this nanotechnology? So first and foremost, it is important for us to understand the health concerns that are associated with the nanotechnology, because remember that, imagine that there is a large particle, but with the nanotechnology, what we are producing very small and a minute particles, because these minute and small scale particles have a lot of applications in different fields that we have just understood, right? So when we are creating a large number of nanoparticles, so these nanoparticles can easily enter the human body, right? So they can easily enter the human body because they are very small scale and nanoparticles. So through inhalation, these nanoparticles can actually enter into the human body, human tissues, and they can also enter into the human blood as well. So thereby it would result in long-term effects on health, and it would also result in cancer like problems among the human beings. So this is one severe problem that we can actually face with nanotechnology. And apart from that, it is also having important implications on the environment as well, because with the production of nanoparticles or small particles, so these small particles can actually enter into the food chain, right? So these nanoparticles, once they are released into the environment, So it would actually result in formation of new class of non-biodegradable pollutants. So whatever nanoparticles that we have released into the environment, so they may be non-biodegradable, so they cannot be decomposed easily. So these non-biodegradable nanoparticles can actually enter into the food chain, and that would further results in biomagnification. That would further results in biomagnification and also bioaccumulation as well. Thereby it would impact the health of the organism. So this is also another major problem, and it would also result in reducing or reduction in biodiversity of a particular area, and even there are some ethical considerations also we need to keep them in mind. So what are the ethical considerations when it comes to these nanoparticles? Because nanotechnology is associated with a lot of issues, such as privacy is under a concern, surveillance, and even equitable distribution of benefits and risks with the nanotechnology. For example, imagine that we have produced a nanomaterial, and this nanomaterial plays a very, very important role when it comes to the treatment of cancer. However, the cost, the affordability, because not everyone can afford this, right? So therefore equitable distribution of the benefits of nanotechnology is a question, and increased state surveillance is also another question, and violation of individuals' privacy is also another serious question that has to be asked when it comes to the development of nanotechnology. However, I can say that nanotechnology is still an emerging technology. So still an emerging technology, and humankind is not fully understood the negative implications of the nanotechnology. So therefore it actually requires more research, more development and assessment of nanotechnology and its concerns, and also its negative impacts on the human beings as well, so that we would have more understanding of the nanotechnology. And even if we have been excessively relied on the nanotechnology, the negative implications of nanotechnology can be further minimized by doing more research on this. And there are certain manufacturing hazards which are being associated with the nanotechnology. So what are those manufacturing hazards which specifically associated with it? For example, production of certain nanomaterials, so that actually involves the use of toxic substances. We need to use the toxic substances, and it actually poses risks to the workers and even the environment. So for example, we have used toxic substances for the production of the nanomaterials. Now these toxic substances not properly if we not properly disposed of, so it would certainly pose risks to the human beings and also the environment as well, right? So similarly, this nanotechnology is also having some important concerns when it comes to the its impact on the society should also be taken into consideration. So what sort of an impact this nanotechnology can have on the society? For example, so it is having applications because it impacts the employment, gainful employment opportunities, or it would result in the unemployment, and it would violates the privacy of the individuals, and it would also altogether change or reorient the existing societal structures as well. So therefore, if you find any example which is relevant and which specifically suits to this, so you can mention such examples as well. For example, imagine that a nano camera has been developed using nanotechnology. So this nano camera cannot be seen with the naked eye by the human beings. Now, don't you think that it violates the privacy of the individuals? Because once this nano camera has been installed and that cannot be seen with a human eye, so it would continuously really results in the surveillance by the state or any other private individuals. So therefore it certainly violates the privacy of the individuals, and similarly it also impact the gainful employment opportunities of the people, and it would also completely reorient these social structures as well. So therefore, what I'm telling you, that if you have any sort of such examples, if you have any sort of data, it is always advisable to mention such data in your answer, those examples in your answer, because it helps you further strengthen your answer, right? So there's a higher probability that you can actually score good amount of marks in your answer. And in fact, so the another major problem when it comes to the nanotechnology or developing the nanomaterials is that we do not have the skilled manpower. So that is a major problem that we have been facing, because if you look at the total skilled workforce that we have, or formally skilled workforce that we have, it is less than 5%, right? So since it is less than 5% and we do not lack the skilled manpower in the area of nanotechnology, so it has resulted in certain knowledge gaps, right? Because it actually requires specialization, it actually requires specialized knowledge, and only then we can actually focus on research and development in nanotechnology, and we can also focus on new innovations within the knowledge within the nanotechnology, right? So however, as of now, we are spending just 0.64% of our GDP on research and development. So in this backdrop, it is very, very important that we should excessively focus on research and development. However, there are other major problems also when it comes to the nanotechnology, such as, for example, the intellectual property rights. So it is very difficult, and it also involves a lot of cost when it comes to acquisition of the intellectual property rights for the innovation of the nanotechnology. And even the development of nanotechnology is also capital intensive, so it actually demands more capital, more technology. So therefore, these are some challenges which are associated with the nanotechnology, and it is very important to deal with those issues, those shortcomings or the challenges. However, in recent times, the government has undertaken number of measures, right? So these measures specifically aimed at developing the nanotechnology. So one such measure was in the year 2001, the Department of Science and Technology, DST. It actually launched Nano Science and Technology Initiative, NSTI, Nano Science and Technology Initiative. The objective of Nano Science and Technology is foster research and development in the field of nanotechnology, R&D in the field of nanotechnology. So thereby it would result in innovation, right? So it would result in innovation in the field of nanotechnology. And similarly, India is also having international collaborations when it comes to the nanotechnology. So we are having international partnerships for further promoting the nanotechnology, for example, with countries like Australia, Japan, United States, and even Germany. So we have a lot of collaborative projects in the field of nanotechnology, because so when we have such collaborations, when we have such international partnerships in the field of nanotechnology, it actually results in exchange of the knowledge that one country has with the other country, exchange of the best practices, and exchange of the technological advancements. So thereby it would result in the development of nanotechnology in all these different countries. Now if you look at India, India lacks the investment, India lacks the finances, India lacks the infrastructure which is essential for R&D. So therefore, when we have such collaborations with other like-minded countries or tech super giants, so it potentially benefits India in the longer term. And nanotechnology would also result in entrepreneurship and startups as well. For example, NanoShell. So NanoShell is an Indian startup, and this NanoShell Indian startup has been commercializing the nanotechnology products for aerospace, automotive, and even for the electronics industries. And the other area that the government has been working on skill development and education, because we just discussed that there are problems within the nanotechnology, that we do not have adequate skills, right? So therefore we should actually work on skill development and education as well. The government has supported the establishment of centers of excellence and even the nanotechnology education and research center. So both centers of excellence and also the nanotechnology education and research centers would actually promote the skill development and research in the field of nanotechnology. So that could potentially benefit the nanotechnology, and that would further result in more and more innovations in the field of nanotechnology. However, we should also talk about nanotechnology in the agriculture. So earlier we have understood that nanofertilizers, nanopesticides can be produced with the help of nanotechnology, and it would result in precision agriculture, it would result in precision farming. So therefore the nanofertilizers and nanosensors for various crops can be used. So this would result in crop monitoring, right? Because it is having some important applications in crop monitoring, and it would also results in nano coatings for pest control. So that is also being explored. So overall it enhances the productivity of the crops, and it would also reduces the environmental impact. See, understand that in India, as I have already discussed, that I've been repeating it again, that in India the major problem is that we have been excessively dependent on fertilizer and pesticides, right? So that is one major problem that we have been facing. So with the excessive use of chemical fertilizers and chemical pesticides, what generally happens? So it pollute the soil, it pollute the existing natural resources such as water. So when it comes to polluting the soil, it would destroy the existing microbial life on the soil, firstly. Secondly, it would reduces the soil fertility as well. So thereby it would result in declining the fertility, right? So overall it would result in the declining fertility within the land that where we have used chemical fertilizers and pesticides. However, with the help of nano fertilizers, so recently the government of India has approved nano urea. It has approved nano urea, and that has been produced by IFFCO, right? So nano urea and even nano DAP, right? So they are being produced by IFFCO, right? Because the nano urea and nano DAP so would have important applications when it comes to the agriculture sector, because they reduce excessive and unnecessary usage of the fertilizer, excessive and unnecessary usage of fertilizer. So thereby they protect soil fertility, and they takes care of what? They takes care of the crop health as well, and similarly they conserve the natural resources, the existing natural resources, and it is also associated with the consumer health as well, and it is also having applications when it comes to remunerative or increased farm incomes, because the productivity can be increased, and ultimately the environmental footprint can also be substantially reduced. So this is the biggest advantage of these nano fertilizers or even nano sensors. So these nano sensors, if we use them effectively, so the nano sensors can actually analyze, and they can also understand when the crops actually requires water, and they operate the micro irrigation equipment, right? So they operate the micro irrigation equipment and thereby saving power. So power consumption can be substantially reduced with the help of these nanosensors. They can be used in the agriculture sector. And in fact, the nano coatings for pest control are being explored to further enhance the crop productivity and also overall reduce the environmental footprint, right? So overall, altogether, we wanted to reduce the environmental impact of agriculture through the nano fertilizers or nanotechnology in the agriculture, and nanotechnology for the energy advancements. Because so we have just discussed that nanotechnology plays a very, very important role when it comes to energy efficiency or production of more and more renewable energy or sustainable form of energy, right? Because we can increase the efficiency of the solar panels, we can increase the capacity of the solar panels to generate more and more energy through utilizing the sunlight. However, here you can actually mention one example, that Tata Chemicals. So Tata Chemicals is a nano based energy storage system, right? So this is an energy storage system, but it is a nanotechnology based energy storage system. So this can actually store up to 10 times more energy than the traditional counterparts, right? So this is the best example of the nano technology based energy advancements, right? So that's all in this lecture. I hope you have understood this, and if you have any doubts, you can write those doubts in the comment section. And that's all in this lecture, and thank you so much.